All right, good evening, everybody. Now, I'm going to try and see what I can do about this. I know to start out the bat, I'm going to have some technical difficulties. Um, and I'm not sure. Oh, I see why. Okay, I got to do a couple things here before we get started. Um, so I'm going to say welcome. And tonight we're going to talk about backstabbing. Now, there's been a lot of activity going on with um, Tim Holmes, Tim Homeseth, his followers, and Bonnie and David Strait. Um, as some of you know, Bonnie Strait was arrested a while back, and it was found out that she had apparently violated probation, allegedly, in regards to possession of a firearm. And David Lester Strait was also arrested. Um, but was later released. And up until now, the circumstances of the arrest were rather convoluted. And it turns out that there's more than meets the eye with this arrest. Now, David Lester Strait and Tim Holmseth um, met each other, as best I can remember, sometime around 2019. And it was thought that Tim Holmseth's claim that Tim Holmseth had one person between him and the former president, and that one person was David Lester Strait. And it went undisputed for quite some time. And it was said that David Lester Strait helped Timmy and Tammy, or helped Timmy and Randy with this um, Pentagon Pedophile Task Force creation, and he also helped Tim Holmseth build a following because of the crossover between David Strait's followers and what few followers had Tim Holmseth had at the time. So it was kind of like for a while there, it was a happy marriage. And the problem came when there seems to be a question of this 2,000 kids rescued in California. Now, when Tim Holmseth reported this, it was as if he had the headline, never said where the source of this information came from. And all of a sudden, um, Tim Homestead started demanding of David Strait information on these kids that were rescued from caves. Uh, and this is also around the time that there was a dispute between Tim Homestead and General Flynn. And then right after that, a dispute between Tim Homestead and Attorney Lynn Wood, because none of these people were giving Tim Homestead the um, attention that he wanted. And this continues to this day. There was supposed to be an interview with someone, and Tim asked for questions he might ask of Tim, and nothing ever materialized. Um, and so now we have this current situation after a series of attacks by Tim Homeseth and his cult followers over on Telegram against David Lester Strait. They've been going after David Lester Strait almost on a daily basis, and it's come to find out that there are a number of people that have contacted me and said that Bonnie Strait was arrested because of a tip that Randy Erickson called in to law enforcement. That she told law enforcement where Bonnie was and where they were headed, and this caused both David and Bonnie to be arrested. Now, there was a hearing. Bonnie has been in prison since her arrest, and then just recently, she was sentenced to 5 years in prison because of this violation. And another rumor that came out is it is alleged that Randy Erickson called in to the authorities in Johnson County, Texas, and reported that someone had a firearm that they were going to bring into court. And so this forced the court to set up scanners in which to go after whoever might have a gun in court. Of course, there was no gun in court, and court resumed. Bonnie was sentenced to 5 years, and that should have been the end of it. But then I received a summary of something that happened, and it basically reads like this. Randy had paid David Street um, for legal services for Timmy. And apparently, Randy and Timmy recorded the transaction, reported the conversation. Randy spoke to the Texas Rangers and gave them evidence about David committing wire fraud a few months ago. The Texas Rangers listened to the recordings, decided they had enough evidence to open an investigation into David. The investigation started. The the state of Texas had undercover agents go to David's seminars in Texas and gather evidence. They found instances where David told lies about his background. Um, the undercovers recorded the whole thing. So, fast forward, they arrested Bonnie, which they have been watching on multiple parole violations and outstanding warrants. During Bonnie's court hearing, they put David on the stand under oath and asked him questions about his past, when he worked for Reagan, Secret Service, Navy SEALs, and so forth. David answered questions. Him being put on the stand, not for Bonnie. They had enough on her violations. David being put on the stand was to get him under oath for a wire fraud investigation. The state of Texas now have information they need, and they will likely be filing charges late next week on David Street. Now, if this goes through and David Lester Strait is arrested on these rather serious charges, then they will have Timothy Charles Homseth and Randy Lynn Erickson to thank for it. And this is a classic backstabbing because Timmy and Randy relied on David Lester Strait early on to help them out. And David Lester Strait is largely responsible for getting Homseth where he was today. And to give thanks for all of that, Tim Homseth and Randy Erickson allegedly arranged for David Strait to get arrested because David Strait didn't do what Timmy wanted him to do. Timmy wanted him to give Timmy credit for discovering these 2,000 kids that were allegedly saved from California. And it didn't happen. Now, a couple things have been put up recently in regards to all this. Um, First, we have this. Um, David Strait, who says he assisted U.S. Marines and transferred 2,100 kids from underground cages in California, has issued a video statement called Battle Cry, but it's not for the children. This was for Bonnie Strait. So they took issue with him doing that. And then this bold headline came up, breaking now: 300 children slaughtered in Johnson County, Texas. Remarkable coincidences. This is where David Lester Strait is living. Now, the problem with this, if you go beyond the headline, you're going to find out that this is actually a repeat of a video that Tim Homeseth put up in 2019, and then in May 6th put it up again. So, or not May 6th, March, he put it up again. And so this is another smear on David Lester Strait. It's kind of hinting that David Lester Strait may have had something to do with the slaughter of these children. And so you have that to look forward to, or that's going on here. But they are celebrating over on uh, BitChute that Bonnie has been arrested and is now going to serve 5 years in prison. They are happy as all get out, even though Tim Holseth is committing the same kind of fraud. And perhaps now those that follow David Lester Strait and are loyal to him can understand what a two-faced backstabber Tim Holseth is, and can decide for themselves what they want to do about it. But this is something that Tim Holmseth is known for. He turns his back on people that help him when it suits him, and it's alleged that Randy Erickson is largely responsible for this. We had Chad Cater and his friend up in East Grand Forks who risked going to jail for aiding and abetting a fugitive from justice and taking Timmy's stuff out of his apartment so it wouldn't get thrown away, along with his car that he had at the time, and putting it in a safe place until Tim could get all this stuff back. And in return for doing this, Randy Erickson persuaded, allegedly, Tim Homseth to revoke Chad Cater's um, position as power of attorney, and she took it over on herself. And she now controls every aspect of Homeseth's life. And so this is typical, but it's happened to at least a dozen people, including a person that goes by the handle of Butterfly Mama, who sent Tim Homeseth a video. And now that video is being exploited against her because she had the audacity to go visit Field McConnell. And uh, Butterfly has been the subject of controversy over on Telegraph for as long as I can remember. And now we have this latest situation with uh, Tammy Reef and her son Joshua. Now, I understand I may have got myself in a little bit of trouble here because I reported that Tammy had been arrested, but she was also released. She served a 3-year sentence uh, for the alleged kidnapping of her son. Now, there has been an ongoing dispute about Jonah, I'm sorry, uh, about whether or not the man is the actual father of the child. There's been a lot of back and forth going on about that. And uh, I think someone mistook my reporting as that was taking sides on the case, and that is not true. Uh, I am still in the early stages of trying to figure all this out, and I am always welcome to hear Tammy's side of the story or her sister tell her side of the story. There's massive amounts of articles out there about Tammy and her situation uh, that explain the how and why all this happened and um, people's widespread belief that the state of California acted inappropriately in that case. And there are vast amounts of debate going on about the CPS and whether or not they are overstepping their authority or whether they are being used as a tool in a back and forth between two parents or two guardians of a child, and that um, under certain circumstances, the women in most cases are being unfairly treated and targeted. Um, I personally know someone that has stated that about herself here in Florida. Uh, so I'm going to see exactly what I can figure out, and sometime down the road, when I'm not so damn busy, I'm going to report on it. And Tammy and her sister are quite welcome to get a hold of me in private if they wish, and uh, tell me their side of the story, and I'll report it, and everybody can judge for themselves. Now, the reason I had reported on that is that it had been alleged that Jessica and Timmy had been involved in that case. And I put that up on my live stream. And it was reported that Jesse had approached the grandparents of the child and told them that she was in a position to be able to get the child back, that she had connections and so forth to where she could get the child back to Tammy. And for a fee, of course. And so money allegedly changed hands. And after a while, Jesse came back and said, no, she can't get the child back because he had been marked as a devil's child or some nonsense. And thus the grandparents got themselves screwed out of money they had paid in desperation to get their grandchildren back. Now, um, this is yet another situation that everything leads to Tim Homestead. We got Cynthia Absug, Neely Blanchard, a couple other cases of women one who decided at the last minute she wasn't going to go through with everything, and another woman whose case, I don't know what happened to it so far. But in the case of Neely Blanchard, they're nervous over there because Neely Blanchard is is said to have a lot of dirt on these people. She said in the interview that Field McConnell, or not Field McConnell, excuse me, that Chris Hallett was a fraud. And so Chris Hallett had betrayed her, and this was the reason for nearly killing him. And Timmy and the gang are going out of their way to impeach my revelations that have come out on the discovery about that case. Now, Friday was supposed to be a pretrial conference for an individual whose phone interview uh, I obtained by accident from the court. And one of the remarkably funny things that I saw uh, is that someone took issue with that because the case is in the jurisdiction of the Lake County Court in Florida because the crime happened in Lake County. Excuse me a minute, I'm typing something. Now, uh, Marion County is in what's known as the Fifth Judicial Circuit. Now, if we um, go to the Fifth Judicial Circuit Court, um, the Fifth Judicial Circuit covers more than one county. And the circuit is comprised of Citrus County, Hernando County, Lake County, Marion County, and Sumter counties with an administration offices in Ocala. And this means that if a case is turned over to the state attorney, it's going to be turned over to the state attorney in the 5th Judicial District. Since Lake County is in the 5th Judicial District, that goes to Ocala. That's the main headquarters. However, if it's a state crime, but because the crime happened in Lake County, it is tried in Lake County. This is true of any case in the state of Florida. It is tried in the county where the crime occurred. It's tried in circuit court if it is a felony or state crime. So when they said that it was unusual for me to have something out of Ocala that was being tried in Lake County, they were wrong because it's in the same circuit. Now, anybody with 5 minutes in Google could have found this out quite easily, but they didn't do that. And now, this is where we're at. So, um, now as far as the case that um, was heard in Lake County, I have to do a search and I got to figure out what I did with the case number, but I'll report on that later on. He was supposed to have a pretrial conference on Friday to determine if the case is going to go forward. unless there is something different, then the case is going to go forward um, mid May, 15th of May, I believe. And I will go up there and I will sit in on it. Now, this is a hearing or a trial to determine his sentencing because he's already agreed to a plea deal on the one remaining felony charge he had, which was having sex with an underage female. Basically, he was a pedophile, and if he's convicted, the judge accepts the plea bargain, he is going to be uh, charged with a sex crime, and he is going to have to be on the sexual predator list, sex offender list. So that's where we stand as that. Now, there is new filings in court that I am waiting to get released, which I believe is going to have to do with a pre-trial conference that took place with Neely Blanchard when I went to Ocala last week. And so, we will, when I get that, I will report it. I should be eventually getting material from the state attorney's office that I had requested. And I am waiting to hear from the Marion County Sheriff's Office on material that I requested from them. So I should be hearing from everybody hopefully by next week. Um, there's one individual in the court that handles processing of certain material, and that individual is on vacation until Monday. And so that's caused a bit of a delay in me getting anything from that particular source. So as soon as we get that, I will release it here. And I am still going through stuff on out there. As far as why nobody chats, it's sometimes people are just lurking and listening and stuff, and they don't chat. Um, I don't force people to chat. If they don't want to chat, they don't chat. And it's interactivity is always better, but if they're not interactive, then there's that. Now, if I could remember, let me see if I can remember this guy's name. I'll look at the bookmarks. I'm trying to see. Trying to remember how to get bookmarks to come up on this stupid thing. History done. Here we go. Bookmarks. Uh, no, I didn't want downloads. I wanted. Daggone it. No, it's not going to be in here. I don't know what I did with that. Wow. Well, I hope you get through that okay. Tornado watches can be a bit unnerving. But yeah, I'm probably going to cut this a little bit short because that's about all I had. Um, this thing with David Lester Straight um, is the primary thing that uh, Tim Holmseth has fully turned his back on David Straight and is now attacking him directly. And it looks like they are being quite active in going after David Straight, and they are determined to get him arrested. I find this interesting because they are using the very same system that they're against. And, this shows that Tim Holmseth does not believe in what he argues on these various social media sites, that it only applies when he, uh, it's in his favor. And if it turns out to be somebody else's problem that's an enemy, then he reverts back to the old system. This admiralty system where everybody gets kidnapped and all this other malarkey. And so that's where we are with that. And so and the funny thing is, if you go over to the David Straight story, he's advertising his eBay page again. So he's always got his hand out for money. That would be nice if it happened. Um, we'll have to wait and see. Um, because I just watched a series here over the past few days on Netflix about the strip search caller. And this was a really amazing case. There was a guy that was calling all around the country, and he somehow would persuade the manager of, say, a McDonald's to strip search a female employee, usually a young girl, 18, 19 years old. And the caller would state that he is a detective from the local police department and that they have had a report that the employee had stole a purse from a female customer. And the point of the strip search was to see if she was hiding the money on her in various parts of the anatomy, including her sex organs. Really weird. And this had been going on for 10 years. They finally came up with a suspect who turns out to be a cop, spoiler alert. And it was a cop from Pensacola, Florida, using um, prepaid cards from AT&T. This is back in the days before burner phones and before cell phones, because he would call in on a payphone. And so they were able to track this guy down. They arrested him. They took him up to Kentucky uh, to put him through the trial up there, and they acquitted the guy because it was not a sex crime in the eyes of the jury. It was a prank call. And so this guy was cut loose and he's free to this day. And, so this goes to, I don't have much faith in the legal system because, law enforcement may consider all this a bunch of pranks, and getting this guy arrested is going to be next to impossible. So I don't know what he's worried about. He's got nothing to worry about. He could keep this stuff up forever, except if Neely Blanchard comes clean on her stuff, and maybe Bonnie Straight may have information on this bunch that she will put out there. Because Bonnie has nothing to lose now. She's going to be in prison for the next 5 years, so she might as well do something constructive while she's there. And so we'll see. Now, speaking of the Blanchard trial, everything looks to be on track for mid June being jury selection. And as we get closer to the trial date, I will keep checking, see what else comes out. But it looks to be like there is some really interesting stuff coming from the state attorney court system that I will be putting up. So the Joker, the thing of it was the grandparents here of Jonah are in a position, I hope I got the kid's name right, to file wire fraud charges. And this would be the beginning of the end because wire fraud is a pretty serious charge. And if they're elderly, this is exploitation of the elderly. So there's a good chance that they could um, get him prosecuted. It's just a matter of someone out there saying, I got screwed out of this amount of money by these people. I want to press charges. And there would be an investigation, and he would be charged and hopefully arrested. And this is what happened to Jessica because she's the one that took the money. But we'll wait and see. Because if people don't report this stuff, nothing's going to get done. And a lot of times people are embarrassed that they found themselves in a situation and they don't report it. And people keep getting away with this stuff. He's been doing this for years, and people just keep giving him money because they believe that he is what he says he is when he's not, and they just can't seem to see the common sense that he's not who he says he is. Now, as time goes on, I think you're going to see that Holmseth is going to tell one too many lies, and more and more and more people are going to say enough is enough, and they're going to leave him. They're going to turn against him actively. And a lot of people are scared to do so because they see what happened to people like Butterfly, um, where she is constantly being harassed. Her name is her legal name is all over the social media websites. So they're basically trying to silence her. And this is going to, the wrong person's going to get pissed off and they're going to start spilling the beans. Now, David Strait and Bonnie basically got their asses handed to them. And, you know, David Strait may face some rough waters coming up, and he can thank Timmy and Randy for it, according to the information that I'm getting, that they are uh, being ratted on by two individuals that are alleged to be doing the same thing. And So, there's no honor among thieves used to be an old expression that seems to apply here. So, well, we'll see. But it's funny. In every one of these things, my name pops up. This arrested suddenly and everything else, and they have this concern over this small channel, folks, and for the life of me, I can't figure out why. But it has, I think this time around, I think it has to do with Neely Blanchard. I think that she's got the goods on them, and that one way or another, she's going to put it out there. And whoever this Kathy person is with the spy pen, I wish I could get my hands on the unredacted version of that recording because it's got to be out there somewhere. I just haven't found it yet. They only wanted this information out there, and if I can find it, I will post it. So, and with that, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to call it a night because there's no point in dragging out this show and I don't have any information. Please like, subscribe, hit the notification button, and share, and stay tuned because as I get information coming in, I will get it up to you uh, when I have information. Right now, the well's a little bit on the dry side. We're in a weekend. Hey, nothing's happened quite yet. And those anybody out there that wants to send me information, you know how to get a hold of me, and feel welcome. You're welcome to do so. And so until I see all you guys again, thank you for coming in. Have a good one. Good night.